China is flooding factories with ultra-cheap AI-powered robots, while the US bets on innovation. Last year, China installed 7 times more industrial robots than the US, but American AI still dominates the headlines. Who's really winning the robot war? I'm Spencer Scott, and welcome to another episode of Quantum Logic. Today, we're diving into a high-stakes global race, the battle for dominance in robotics and artificial intelligence between China and the United States. This isn't just a tech rivalry, it's a defining geopolitical showdown that will shape who controls the digital world of tomorrow. From humanoid robots to AI agents that think for themselves, the race is on. But the question is, who will win? We've talked about Agentic AI in other episodes, but let's recap because I think it's important when we start to talk about AI and robotics. We're moving rapidly past the chatbot phase. These new Agentic AI systems can make decisions, solve problems, and carry out tasks independently. Microsoft, OpenAI, and Salesforce are already unleashing AI agents across multiple business sectors, from legal firms to logistics. And by the end of 2025, 1 in 4 companies using generative AI will begin piloting these agents. So here's the question for you. Are you ready for AI that not only thinks for you, but thinks ahead of you? The convergence of AI agents with robotics is giving rise to machines that don't just move, they understand, they reason, and then take action. Pause for a second. Would you trust a robot to do your job? Because by 2027, that might not be a choice. And that brings us to the next frontier. In 2025, humanoid robots aren't just science fiction anymore. They're shipping orders, assembling cars, and maybe soon, making your morning coffee. Tesla's Optimus Gen 3 is leading the charge, boasting a natural walking style, improved hand dexterity, and a price point under $20,000. Boston Dynamics' all-electric Atlas is about to hit Hyundai's US production lines, and startups like Apptronik and China's UBTECH are scaling production extremely fast. But why does this matter? Because these robots aren't just built, they're trained, using reinforcement learning and powerful large language models that let them understand language, assess environments, and adapt in real time. Let me ask you this. If a robot can understand your voice, walk across uneven terrain, and pick up your laundry, what jobs are truly safe? Some people I know have joked it's time to retrain as a plumber. But is it likely that a robot in the future will be capable of doing these tasks better than a human? I think so. Now, let's get on to the main point about China versus the US and who is winning. In order to do that, we need to talk about strategy. Because when it comes to AI and robotics, China and the US are playing very different games. What's China's strength? Scale. It leads in AI research publications, patent filings, and robot installations by a long shot. In 2024 alone, China filed nearly 10 times more AI-related patents than the US, and now installs more than half the world's industrial robots annually. So what about the US edge? Well, the US has influence. The US leads in high-stakes research, headline-making AI models, and private sector investment. Last year alone, American firms produced 40 frontier AI systems, more than double China's 15. It's not just quantity that counts, though. It's the scale of the breakthroughs. What do you think? Is leadership or dominance in AI and robotics about building the most? Or is it about building the best? Interestingly, China is closing the quality gap fast. Their DeepSeek R1 model has already outperformed Meta and Anthropic on key benchmarks using fewer compute resources. Why? US chip sanctions. And yet China innovated around the constraint. So the deeper question becomes, when one country is rich in capital and another in constraint-driven creativity, who has the long-term edge? And when we look at who's putting robots to work, the numbers are staggering. China now boasts over 30,000 active AI researchers, 3 times more than the US, and their AI workforce is overwhelmingly young. But America still attracts top-tier researchers and remains a magnet for global talent. And the funding? In 2024, US private investment in AI hit $109 billion, 12 times China's. But China is countering with massive state-led funding programs, including a $138 billion financing initiative from the Bank of China. And what about industry? Again, China isn't just playing in robotics, it's leading a full-scale revolution. In Shanghai, a single Foxconn factory now runs with 10,000 fully autonomous robots, replacing jobs, yes, but also cutting defects by 30%. And that's the trade-off: efficiency versus upheaval of the workforce. To understand the scale of deployment of robots in China, in 2023 alone, it installed 276,000 industrial robots, which was about 51% of the global total. And it's embedding AI across everything. So here's a challenge to consider. Would you bet on the startup ecosystem or a centralized state-driven scale-up? I don't think there is an easy answer to this one, actually. But this divergence, market versus mandate, might define how each nation shapes the next industrial revolution. Let's be real. Ideas are powerful, but action is what wins. China is battling a shrinking workforce and betting on AI to fill the labor gaps, especially in high-tech sectors like solar panels, electric vehicles, and lithium batteries. Robots are handling everything from precision assembly to logistics and lifting. Meanwhile, the US leads in research and AI model development, but it lags in physical deployment. AI adoption in American firms jumped to 78% last year, but the scale of rollout in industrial environments still trails China dramatically. So here's the question. In a race to lead the future, does first to deploy beat first to invent? So where does that leave us? The AI and robotics race between China and the US is not a sprint. It's a systems war. It's less about killer robots and more about who can integrate intelligence into infrastructure, scale responsibly, and define the rules of the digital age. Will the US continue to lead in innovation? Can China maintain its momentum despite chip constraints? And most importantly, what role will you play in a world where machines are no longer tools, but teammates? Thanks for tuning into this episode of Quantum Logic. If you found this episode thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone. And until next time, stay curious, and as always, stay human. Bye for now.